Have you ever noticed that people born between 1976 and 1985 seem different? Not quite Gen X, not quite millennials, but somehow both? They remember rotary phones and Saturday morning cartoons, but they also adapted to email, smartphones, and social media before most people even knew what was happening. They can survive without Wi-Fi, but they can also run a Zoom meeting. So what does that do to someone's brain? Because here's the truth. Growing up as a Xennial created a psychological advantage that most people don't even realize exists. And today, we're breaking down exactly how that shaped their resilience, independence, adaptability, emotional intelligence, and one powerful hidden trait that most people overlook. Make sure you stay until the end, because the last habit is the most important one. If you miss it, you'll completely misunderstand why Xennials think differently from every other generation. Let's dive in. The micro-generation that bridged two worlds. Xennials are often called the bridge generation. They grew up in an analog childhood, but entered adulthood in a digital world. They had cassette tapes and VHS. They also had Napster and MySpace. They played outside unsupervised, but later built careers online. And that transition did something powerful. It trained their brains to operate in two completely different systems and switch between them effortlessly. Most generations grow up fully in one era. Xennials grew up in two. And when your brain develops between two worlds, something unique happens. You don't just adapt, you evolve. Now let's break down the psychology behind that. Trait 1. They developed independent problem-solving skills. Xennials grew up in a time when you had to figure things out yourself. If you got lost, there was no GPS. If something broke, you tried to fix it. If you were bored, you created something. They weren't constantly supervised. They weren't constantly entertained. They had space, and space creates independence. Psychologically, this builds strong internal decision-making. Instead of immediately asking Google, they pause and think. Instead of panicking, they analyze. This early independence trained their brain to tolerate uncertainty, and that's a major advantage in adulthood. Now here's where it gets interesting, because independence alone isn't the full story. Trait 2. They built patience in a pre-instant world. Xennials remember waiting for the internet to connect, waiting for film to be developed, waiting for someone to call back. Everything took time, and that waiting trained their brain in delayed gratification. They didn't grow up with everything on demand, so they learned that good things take effort, good things take time, and not everything happens instantly. Psychologically, that builds self-control, and self-control is directly linked to long-term success. This is why many Xennials are calm under pressure. They're not wired for instant reaction. They're wired for steady progress. But here's what makes them truly powerful. They didn't just learn patience, they also learned speed. Trait 3. They are highly adaptable. Xennials witnessed the fastest technological shift in modern history. They went from floppy disks to cloud storage, from landlines to smartphones, from handwritten resumes to LinkedIn profiles, and they had to adapt fast. When your brain grows up adjusting to constant change, you stop fearing it. Change becomes normal. Instead of resisting new systems, they learn them. Instead of complaining about updates, they adjust. That mental flexibility makes them extremely valuable in today's world, because the modern world rewards adaptability, and Xennials trained for it before they even knew they were training. But adaptability isn't just about technology, it shaped something deeper. Trait 4. They have strong emotional intelligence. Xennials had real-world social interaction before digital filters existed. They read facial expressions. They handled awkward silence. They experienced rejection face-to-face. They learned tone. They learned body language. They learned empathy in person. And that builds emotional intelligence. Unlike younger generations who grew up behind screens, Xennials developed emotional awareness offline first. That makes them strong communicators. They can sense tension in a room. They can read energy shifts. They can navigate conversations naturally. In leadership roles, this becomes a huge advantage, because success isn't just about knowledge, It's about understanding people. And that leads to something even more powerful. Trait 5. They balance privacy and presence. Xennials remember life before everything was documented. Embarrassing moments weren't permanent. Memories weren't content. Friendships weren't measured in likes. So they developed a healthier boundary between public and private life. They understand technology, but they're not fully dependent on it. They can unplug, they can disconnect, they can exist offline. That balance protects mental health. And here's the part most people don't talk about: the hidden trait, identity awareness. Xennials were raised with traditional expectations, but entered adulthood in a rapidly changing world. They were told to follow stable career paths, but they also had to navigate a brand new digital economy. They had structure, but they also had disruption. That tension forced them to question things, to reflect, to analyze, to adapt their identity. Psychologically, this builds self-awareness, and self-awareness is rare. They don't blindly follow trends, they evaluate them. They don't panic during change, they process it. That internal balance between structure and flexibility creates quiet confidence. And this is the trait most people overlook. It's not just nostalgia, it's psychological duality, the ability to understand both simplicity and complexity at the same time. That's powerful. Conclusion: your transformation. So what does all this mean? If you're a Xennial, your brain was wired in a unique way. You developed independence early. You built patience naturally. You mastered adaptability. You strengthened emotional intelligence. You balanced privacy with presence. And you cultivated deep self-awareness. You're not in between generations. You're equipped with strengths from both. And now here's the transformation. After watching this video, you'll be able to recognize your psychological advantages and use them intentionally. Use your independence to make confident decisions. Use your patience to build long-term success. Use your adaptability to stay ahead of change. Use your emotional intelligence to lead and connect. Use your self-awareness to grow faster than those who never question themselves. Your upbringing wasn't random. It built mental tools most people don't even realize they have. And once you become aware of your strengths, you stop comparing yourself and start leveraging them. That's the power of understanding your generation. If this made you see yourself differently, that means you're already becoming more self-aware. And self-awareness is where real growth begins. See you in the next one.